watching Rogers TV.
Hey, welcome to Daytime Ottawa here on Rogers TV. A great show ahead. I know I say that every show, but it's true. We're going to talk about something off the top of the show that's near and dear to my heart because probably my favorite vacations have always been in Mexico. And we're bringing Mexico to you here in Ottawa on the show, and with some great culinary collaborations here to tell us more about it. I'm joined by Ingrid Berlenga Vasila. She's the first Secretary and Cultural Attaché of the Embassy of Mexico in Canada, and Chef David Vinoya from Tulip Restaurant. Welcome to you both. Great to have you here. Ingrid, let's talk about this idea and how the embassy got involved. Tell me a little bit about that.
Thank you very much, Derek, for inviting us to your program. And I want to ask you if you would like to wear this.
Would I like to wear this? Of course I would.
People would enjoy to see you in one of these hats.
Absolutely.
But actually, you have to turn it like that.
This way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I am very happy to be here, and on behalf of the Embassy of Mexico, to announce this amazing collaboration we have with Chef David Vinoya, with other ladies who lunch, and Chef Robin Dueta and Catherine Landry, who are organizing this series of amazing culinary dinners and lunches called Corazon. Corazon means heart in Mexico.
Nice.
And we would like to bring Mexico to your hearts and to your tables.
I love it. And this, by the way, all happening between November 14th and November 17th. And so, David, how did you get involved? Did they reach out to you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, first of all, just wanted to say thank you. It's such an honor to be part of this amazing event called Corazon. And for us, it's pretty much similar in the Philippines and also Mexican. Because way back then, 300 years ago, we've been colonized the same thing, which is Spain. So some of delicacies similar to, such as what we're going to make it today.
What are we making today?
Oh, we're cooking a fish, but no heat.
Okay.
So we call it ceviche.
Right.
Yes, ceviche, and then I also need your hands also.
You got it. Okay.
So now I want you to cut this jalapeno.
Oh, you had to give me the hot stuff.
Yes.
Am I taking the seeds out, or do you keep the seeds in?
No, seeds out, seeds out. So yes, and then very, very fine chop, because I really wanted to have a nice textures of it, but not too chunky.
You got it.
And
while we're doing this, Ingrid, you've got, I said off the top how much I have loved visiting Mexico, but today we want to talk specifically about visiting Mexico on a gastronomy basis. What? My mic's gone?
No, your string's gone.
Oh, my string's on the mic. I got you.
Mexico is one of the best destinations in the world to eat. I know that everybody has eaten an amazing dish of mole with beans and rice, or tacos, or our famous enchiladas. Well, Mexico is actually intangible cultural heritage by UNESCO. Not only for the amazing flavors, but also for the ancestral ingredients and for the way the food is prepared. Because some of the utensils, like I know if you have seen the metate. Metate is like a stone where the indigenous women grind the maize to turn it into a dough. And with this dough, we make the tortillas, no? Tortillas is our bread in Mexico, no? So Mexicans eat in average 1 pound or half a pound of tortillas per day, so you can imagine how important it is for us. Yes. And now that I see that you're preparing ceviche, ceviche is one of the most traditional dishes in the beaches in Mexico.
Yes.
We have, you know that we have the Pacific coast, we have the Atlantic Ocean, we have the Caribbean, we have the Cortez Sea, so we have fish everywhere in the country, right?
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of my favorite dishes to enjoy. And listen, you can eat it at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It doesn't matter, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
All right, how's that? Am I good here?
Yes, a little bit more.
A little bit, okay.
A little bit chop more there.
And I must say here that it's very important that you remove the seeds from the chili, because if you keep them there, you're gonna get so irritated that you're not gonna like it, right?
That's so true. It's so true.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I may have kept a few in because I'm in a rush, so I apologize for
that's
that.
okay. So yeah, people keep asking about this, what kind of fish are we gonna also use it? Can we just use a frozen fish? definitely you can use the frozen fish.
Really?
Like halibut and also a cod. And then you can chop it up also, because my preference is to use lime. It's because this give you a tart flavor at the end.
Right.
So it's a nice texture at the same time.
So is the citrus that kind of cooks it? I mean, we're not cooking with heat, you
We're
said,
not cooking
right?
with heat, and we're using the citrus, and then after that, it's different the way marinated it. For example, if it takes way too long, you cook all the way through all those muscles of the fish. It will get into hard, or not hard, but all the way cooked. So my suggestion is if you just fresh cut fish, then that's the time you just leave it for 5 to 30 minutes, and then you're good to go to eat it too.
And I see Ingrid nodding. She's like, you are doing this correctly. I like it.
Yes.
That's good to have a coach in there,
I want to mention something very important that maybe the audience will feel very encouraged to come to these dinners, is that we are raffling a ticket for 2 people, a tour for 2 people to travel to Mexico City. This is sponsored by LET. And the person who participates with 1 ticket in any of these 3 dinners, including Crave Ottawa, will be able to participate in this raffle.
Wonderful.
And it includes flights, accommodation, and meals in this amazing restaurant in Mexico. What we want to emphasize here as the Embassy of Mexico is that Mexico is much more than only beaches. Right. Mexico is food, Mexico is culture, Mexico is tradition. So we want to encourage people to come to Mexico, not only for the beaches, but to have a real experience.
Yeah, agreed. And it's oftentimes it's nice to go off the beaten track. Don't just stay, there's wonderful resorts, but don't just stay on the resort. Go and explore and enjoy yourself. There's so many things to do, right? Outside of just sitting on the beach, right?
Exactly.
You can go snorkeling and diving and horseback riding and ATV trips, and there's tons to do.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Especially the street food in Mexico is something you can't miss. I mean, don't just go to the real established, luxurious restaurants, but also travel to see the local foods in the villages. How the indigenous women prepare the tortillas in the metates, and how these amazing people make the Mexican food something so rich in our culture.
What is something that you mentioned street food? What is a must-have when it comes to street food? What would you recommend?
Well,
Ingrid?
obviously everybody knows tacos.
Yes.
Tacos, tortas, tamales. So we say, we make a joke in Mexico that Mexicans eat vitamin T. Tortas, and tamales.
I love it. That's great.
So when you go to Mexico, you have to get a lot of vitamin T.
Right. Yes. Exactly. And it's easy to do that. Look at the preparation here. This is beautiful. So this is some that you had made beforehand, just in case Derek messed up with too many seeds in cutting up the jalapenos. And part of having an authentic experience, what else would you recommend people look to do when they travel to Mexico?
Well, it depends on their age and also of their taste or what kind of things they like. But they can go to the center of Mexico to visit the cities that have a lot of colonial history. They can visit a lot of museums. Mexico City is a city with the largest number of museums in the entire world, even more than New York. What more do you need
to know? Hey, stay tuned to the end of the show because I'll give you all the details on how you get tickets. We brought up the website there, embassydinner.ca, and as I said, I'll remind you at the end of the show about all these wonderful dinners. We'll be back with more right after this.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
This episode of Daytime Ottawa is brought to you in part by Trio Financial Planning, helping individuals and families live today and build for tomorrow. Branton Renovation is pleased to support this episode of Daytime Ottawa. Branton Renovations, Ottawa's award-winning renovations team. episode of Daytime Ottawa is brought to you in part by Dustin Design and Drafting, your first step toward building your dream project with a team approach. Daytime Ottawa is proudly supported by Mary's Must Read Book Club. Follow Mary on social media at Mary K. Taggart for her latest book club picks.
This episode of Daytime Ottawa is brought to you in part by Eastboro Designs. Eastboro Designs, designing a bold lifestyle through functionality and beauty. Friends. Oh my goodness, I'm excited to talk to our next guest. You probably recognize her because she's in television, not just here in Ottawa, but all over the place. She is an eyewear expert, and she's going to be talking about her 3 tips to selecting the perfect eyewear. Wendy Buchanan joins me. She is an eyewear image expert with Perceptions Eyewear Inc. Welcome back.
Great to
have
see you
here.
again. Great to be here.
Introduce everybody to your special guest here.
This is my model extraordinary, one of my masterpieces, my daughter, Sydney Buchanan.
I love it. That is an introduction, everybody. That is wonderful. So let's say you do have these 3 steps to picking the perfect style. Let's talk about those 3 steps and why each of them are important, Wendy.
Yeah, the first one is spec style. And spec style is all about that image, that vibe that you want to project, as well as your clothing style.
Okay.
What does that look like for cut and color? And the second one is fit. It's got to be a perfect fit. It's got to be comfortable, but it's also got to complement your features and back to your style again.
Right.
And then the third that brings it all together is the color. What's that color that when we put it on, it works so well with your complexion and your hair and makes you feel great?
Yeah, because I think the old model that we always used to think about is, you know, the shape of your face, and you have to have a specific type of eyewear for the shape of your face. Is that
forget
You're
about
done
it.
with
I'm
that.
like, ditch
Okay.
the face shape. I think it's an old way to look at it. We want to look at the proportions for sure, but let's not pigeonhole ourselves into a face shape.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, let's look at
start.
some. Do you want to do like do's and don'ts? Is that sort of the idea?
Well, why don't I look at what's fashionable with what's happening in clothing style, part
Okay.
of that spec style. And one is that big, cozy jacket that you love from, what's that show that you love this jacket
Only
from?
Murders in the Building.
Only Murders
right?
in the Building.
That the character Mabel wears, and she always wears like a coat like this, and it seems to have exploded across the fashion world now,
Yeah,
right?
and what we want to do with that, because there's some bulk and some texture, we elevate that with eyewear that has some weight, some texture, it changes color. If Sydney can turn one way or the other, where we can see the sides have some texture and pattern.
Right. And honestly, like if you would have pointed to those to me and said, I'm going to put these on Sydney and she's going to look great, I'm like, I don't know. You're the expert, Wendy, but they look fantastic.
And that's why I'm here.
Exactly,
right?
and that's why I'm over here. Yeah, for sure.
Now, if we ditch the coat and we go to more of that beautiful fall knits, more of a neutral pattern, burgundy is one of those big hot colors this season. Well, a great way to bring it into your wardrobe is you could pull it in eyewear, in one of the eyeglasses, and now you're on trend for the color without investing in maybe a whole suit. You can bring it in as a fashion accessory with eyewear.
Not to sound cliche, Wendy, but you have an eye for this. Honestly, though, again, you picked like perfect glasses.
Yeah, it's when it all comes together, when we bring all 3 of those steps together.
Now, you chose these for me. Do you want to talk about why you thought these were a good fit?
I actually want to make you look bad first, if I can.
Okay, sure.
If you're okay with that.
It's probably easier than you think, Wendy.
I want to show what happens when we get a poor fit. So this is a little bit sloppy. It's going to end up sliding down because it's too wide on the bridge. That creates a lot of negative space. If you look back at the camera, a lot of negative space below the eye, which then drags it down.
Right.
The other thing that's happening here now, if you turn so that we see the temple fit's not accurate. It's not long enough. It's cutting before the ear. So they're always going to be frustrating.
All right.
Because they're not going to. And
Frustrated
look
with
at
these.
they look crooked. So then
They do
that
look crooked.
That changes your image too. It makes it look sloppy, like you don't care.
And I do.
And you
Lynn, I do care. Are these?
These are going to be a good fit.
Okay.
These are a good
Oh,
fit.
what a difference already.
Yeah.
Even the fit as you
They
send on the
feel
temple.
good.
Yeah.
It's that comfort. Your eyes are centered. It's following the brow. The other thing it's doing, we're pulling in a little bit of color too,
Right.
because it's not a matchy-matchy with the hot, trendy burgundy, but it's a nice accent piece with the burgundy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So when somebody wants to match, they don't always think about color to color.
Right.
Right?
It can be on the same color wheel, but at
Okay.
the opposite side of that color wheel.
Gotcha.
But it's got the same richness, the same depth of color.
Right.
And if we turn to the side again,
Yeah.
we've got a perfect fit here where it starts to bend right at the top of your ear.
Right. Right.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay.
Now, if we start to bring in color, if we look at Sydney, if we switch,
Sure.
these work, but we might as well show another hot trend.
Okay. Look at these are cool looking.
I know. She's light personal coloring, light hair, light eyes, light complexion. And so we're bringing out those neutrals that look so good on Sydney, and then giving it just a pop of color
Yeah.
with the lime
green.
green.
On the sides and in the center.
Yeah, and now her eyes, we just like pulled her eyes out of the socket. Like her eyes
Yeah, no, for sure.
actually
They're
look
popping.
look
Yeah.
framed, and we've accentuated it. And we can do the same. That's where I pulled these out for
Okay.
you, because it's you have more of a muted complexion. Salt and pepper hair, there's some texture there.
Right.
We need to create a little bit of weight if we want to kind of make it a little bit more fashion forward with that double bridge.
We should have brought our next guest, Sid Kratzberg, into this one.
Oh,
You
yeah.
right away, you were like, oh, this guy's got some good eyewear action going on, right?
He's going to be a great segue to this one. When you bring him out, you're going to see it all come together.
Now be honest, when you saw him in the glasses, like, did you right away go, those are on point? Like he's...
Yeah, immediately when you see Sid, we're setting Sid up. When you see him, he has presence, and the
Right.
big, bold glasses give him that presence. Lighter personal coloring, great example. He's going against his personal coloring in order to make an impact, which is part of the spec
Interesting.
style. So
Okay.
he's now creating that dramatic spec style.
Where do people find you? Like these styles, do you work with a lot of different brands?
Yeah, boutique designers from all over the world. So
Okay.
I source product that it is unique. That's something that I can work with to create unique looks for my clients.
Right.
Going through that 3-step process, and I do it all by appointment only. So we can
Okay,
actually take our
okay.
time, look at your wardrobe, look at your personal coloring, and then figure out what's that vibe,
Right.
what's that image that you want to project. And it's hard to do it in one pair.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We always have a couple.
PerceptionEyewear.com, that's where they can find you.
Perceptions
There you go.
Eyewear, yeah,
Wendy
perfect.
Buchanan, PerceptionEyewear.com. The aristocrat of scent, Sid Kratzberg. We were just talking about him. He's up after the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back talking fragrances right after this.
This episode of Daytime Ottawa is brought to you in part by Trio Financial Planning, helping individuals and families live today and build for tomorrow. Branton Renovation is pleased to support this episode of Daytime Ottawa. Branton Renovations, Ottawa's award-winning renovations team.
Unbelievable. You just never see that. What a shot. Scores!
The OHL on Rogers TV.
This episode of Daytime Ottawa is brought to you in part by Dustin Design and Drafting, your first step toward building your dream project with a team approach. Daytime Ottawa is proudly supported by Mary's Must Read Book Club. Follow Mary on social media at Mary K. Taggart for her latest book club picks.
This episode of Daytime Ottawa is brought to you in part by Eastboro Designs. Eastboro Designs, designing a bold lifestyle through functionality and beauty.
Oh, his ears were burning in the green room, my friends. The aristocrat of scent himself, Sid Kratzberg, back here on the show to talk everything fragrance. And of course, we need to enjoy your amazing eyewear, Sid. Hey, wasn't that nice listening to that in the green room? Hey, Wendy telling you you're on point with the glasses.
On point. It's peace and love.
Peace and love with Sid. I love it. Sid, I know maybe some people don't like to hear this, but the holidays are coming. And we want to make sure that people think about it now so they don't have to, suffer through trying to find things at the last minute. And you've got some exclusive things to talk about too, right?
Fabulous things. Where do we begin? Well, you know that song, The Begin? I should start singing. For a guy.
No, don't quit your day job.
I know, don't quit my day job. The world of Mont Blanc.
Yes. Tell me about these fragrances.
What could I say but the classic legend? Fabulous. But now the Explorer, the Platinum Explorer is out with bergamot and violet leaves. And
nice.
Sage.
Very nice.
Ooh.
Wow.
Is that a wow?
That is really unique, yeah.
That is a fabulous one. And then what I loved about Mont Blanc, they went from the classic, the Eau de Toilette, to beautiful fragrances that are perfume. Nice. So we have the Red Legend, which is gorgeous, with orange and sage and cedar. Is that not?
I love the way you talk, Sid. I mean, you make television so fun. Remember, you had your own show at one point,
did.
right? Yeah.
Get Citified.
Get Citified.
And we're getting Citified with fragrances.
We are.
And another one that I love, Derek, is this one. And I think I had given you samples on that one. It's the Legend Eau de Parfum with another fabulous one with, try that.
What is this? Sage and violet leaf
and bergamot.
Wow.
It's a wow.
Really nice.
It's a wow.
Really nice.
Now, they did ask me to be the poster boy for Versace.
Yeah, so
but
what happened?
My schedule was just too busy.
Oh, I could, yeah, okay.
So they went
they
to
got this guy.
This guy, this Chatham O'Neill. Could you imagine?
Yeah, whatever.
But guys, ladies, the most beautiful gift for your husband, for your son. The teenage boys are coming in with parents. It's this one here, The World of Eros by Versace.
So what kind of sense do we have there?
A touch of mint in it.
Really?
And could you imagine to be the third globally top-selling fragrance? Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, no kidding.
So everybody's been waiting for this one, Derek. It's finally arrived with blood orange, amber, and oak moss. And guess what it's called? Energy.
Energy, okay.
We all need to be energetic.
Oh, that is great.
Isn't that fabulous?
Yeah.
That is
oak
definitely.
Moss. That's the first time I've ever heard something with oak moss.
That's a GHI one.
Gotta have it.
He's got it.
See?
He's got
I remember.
It.
Yeah, I know your acronyms by now.
And ladies, I'm now going to give you a warning.
Okay.
You must be prepared.
Uh-oh.
That if you put this fragrance, which I'm going to show you, you better run fast.
You gotta run. Okay.
Because, guys, women will stop you and saying, what are you wearing?
People will flock to you, is what you're saying.
They'll flock to you. And here it is, the Crystal Noir with orange blossom. It's gorgeous. And ginger. It's that LBD fragrance. You know what that is?
LBD.
The little black dress.
Okay.
So when you're going out at night, spray this on.
And watch out.
And you better not have a jealous husband. or partner.
Okay.
They won't like that.
No, no kidding. Let's talk a little Jimmy Choo, because I just like saying Jimmy Choo, to be honest with you.
I need you.
You're singing
but I
against it.
changed it to I want you. Okay. It's the world of Jimmy Choo.
I like it. Very well done.
It's fabulous. And we have an exclusive, which happens to be
This
right
one here?
over there.
Okay.
It's incredible. Sorry. Yes, this one, Derek, is
Okay.
the new Jimmy Choo perfume with gardenia, pear, and that other unique note, oak moss.
Oh, really? Oak moss again?
Yeah.
Oh, that is really
Isn't
nice.
that gorgeous?
Yeah.
Ladies,
Beautiful.
this is for the woman who wants sophistication, wants to be noticed, the world of Jimmy Choo.
Nice.
What could I say? And I love this one, Derek, the I Want You. And that one is vanilla and amber and peach.
Vanilla, amber, and peach. Oh, these are all
I'm
fantastic.
so excited to be...
You've got a nose for this kind of thing, right?
And it is a rather large one.
I didn't say that. You said...
I love
did
it.
not reference the nose.
I love it. I love the world of fragrance. And I'm at Sephora.
Are
so
you?
I'd
Okay.
love everybody to come and see me. I'm actually going to be there after the show tonight.
Which location?
I will be at Bayshore.
Okay.
So I'm there tomorrow.
All right.
And I'm there the next day.
So Friday, Saturday.
Friday. Yes,
Okay.
and on Saturday I'm at the new Sephora Trinity
Where is that?
in Orleans.
Nice.
Yes, and I will have some very special samples for everyone.
So that's the nice thing, right? People can
Yeah.
come in and you like, how do you, I mean, much like Wendy, I'm sure you help
Same as
match
Wendy.
people. Is it sort of
How
personality-wise,
do you-
fashion-wise?
And I always say, how do you want to feel? And
Right.
a woman will say, I want to feel sexy.
And then you go to where?
You go to that.
You go to that one. All right.
What could I say?
Versace.
Guys, for classic guys, sporty guys, I would show them some of these beautiful, like the Spirit by Mont Blanc, fresh aquatic notes. So Christmas is coming.
I was going to say, and now is probably a great time to buy
Fabulous
because there's
time.
like gift packs and
Gifts,
that's
the sets are incredible. Now, these are only a few. What I'm showing you today, Derek,
These
are
are just
ones that are
teasers.
found at Sephora.
Okay,
But there
okay.
are a lot of other brands that I represent. But I was so excited to be asked to go into Sephora. I
No
love
kidding.
it.
Yeah.
I love the vibe there.
Well, and they know their stuff too, right? The staff know their
Not only
stuff.
the
I was
staff.
just in recently with
Derek,
Monica.
I'm
Yeah.
seeing young kids. I'm seeing 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds.
Looking for the perfect scent for
Looking for
themselves.
the perfect scent.
Sid Kratzberg, ladies and gentlemen, always a pleasure, Sid. We'll be back with more right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Kids these days, people say we lack initiative.
And technology, that we're all addicted.
Kids these days, we hear that we only care about ourselves. Apparently, we're lazy.
And don't seem to have any sense of independence.
Actually, kids these days are facing a lot. Because the world has changed, and so have our health issues. Kids these days, we could really use your help. Join CHIO in our biggest fundraising campaign ever to transform pediatric care.
Are you a content creator looking to expand your audience and make your voice heard in your community? Rogers TV wants to provide you with a platform to share your hobbies, interests, and stories for free. Visit us to find out more.
I'm Sam LaPrade. I hope you join us for an hour to give. It's a wonderful way to learn all about the charities and nonprofits in this community that are changing and saving lives. Look forward to seeing you then.
On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we encourage Canadians to pause and remember all that veterans have sacrificed for us, lest we forget.
Hi, I'm Sam LaPrade, host of Ottawa Business Matters. We're going to gather here every single week and speak about business here in the capital. We're going to inspire, influence, and inform.
With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV.
Tuesday, November the 12th, my friends. Mark it on your calendar because we're going to be talking about a very unique and holistic way of looking and planning retirement. It is so incredibly important to do. Many of us wait too long and then we panic. Well, my next guests are going to relax you here. I'm joined by Alison Braun, founder of Life Matters. Welcome. Great to have you here, Alison.
Thank you so much.
And Jacqueline Richards, mortgage agent and author. Great to have you here as well, Jacqueline.
Great to be here.
I'll start with you, Jacqueline. How did the two of you meet for this collaboration?
It's about networking. It's about networking, and then you meet exactly who you're supposed to meet. So I'm a part of a women's business group, and Alison decided it would be really great to connect with her community. I happen to be there co-hosting the breakfast.
Okay.
Breakfast. She doesn't get it for breakfast. And
but you did that one time, right, Alison? Okay.
Okay. And then we had an opportunity to introduce each other. You know, we have the 30 seconds. Who are you? What do you do? And what do you need? And we recognize that we understand what we need because it's all about how do we help others with their needs.
Right. Tell me a little bit about your background, Alison.
Sure. Well, my background is varied. Life Matters. I'll talk a little bit about what
please.
Life Matters is. So it's an organization that's really dedicated to the well-being of seniors. I work with retirees. I work with elders, seniors, really empowering them to thrive in life. And, you know, I do some group facilitation working around themes of grief or loss, anxiety, depression, because our senior population went through a lot during COVID, especially.
Yeah.
And then I also do some really deep dives on one-on-one conversations, and that's where I do most of my work. And really, you know, do some great. I really am able to make some change, tangible change in lives, and it's beautiful, and it's really kind of the other side of retirement planning from what Jacqueline does, and that's how we ended up teaming up on this event.
Let's talk about that, Jacqueline. Your side of retirement planning. How would you describe that?
Yeah, absolutely. As a mortgage agent, I hear so many stories, because we all hear so many stories. It's been one of those decades. And when people show up and say, I am looking to retire, and they've had my corporation, the government, has had a conversation with me, this is what I should expect. But oh my gosh, Jacqueline, I have a mortgage and I have debt.
Right.
What do you what should I consider? Is this that thing you call debt consolidation? Is it called a reverse mortgage? I heard about that. I'm not sure what that is. Can you help me understand?
Right.
And that's what it is. Can you help me understand how I can live my best next chapter?
Right.
And so I get to have that conversation with couples, with solos, and sometimes with their kids who want to know that they're going to be okay.
Right. Right. So let's talk about the event specifically. Alison, this event that the two of you have collaborated on, how would you explain, how is it different than other, say, workshops when it comes to retirement planning?
Well, we really, first of all, we've made it really fun.
Good.
Very interactive. We're really trying to get people to think through life goals, to think about those obstacles that's standing between them and their life goals, and how to start moving in directions that can deal with those obstacles. So we get them working in pairs, in groups, and it's just, we've already done this once, and we're going to be offering this again, but this coming Tuesday, we're just going to have a lot of fun and be present for whoever comes out that evening. We have a lot of people signed up, and we'll just take it wherever they want us to take it. So we do have a plan, but at the same time we adapt that for the people who come.
Yeah, so Jacqueline, who do you suggest should come to this workshop?
Anyone who wants to know what the acronyms are. What's the MER? What's the SWOT? What can I do to sit a little more comfortably in yoga? I will say that out loud. Yoga, because we don't breathe deeply when we talk about money. Who do I want? Yeah, who do I want to come out? I want 55 plus.
Okay.
Male, female, don't care. I want people to come out and say, I think I don't know what I'm going to do with my retirement. I need to understand what 85 will look like for me. I know I consider that. What will that look like for me? Right. I want to know that my dad and mom are going to be okay. I want them to ask the questions that they won't ask me, but they'll ask Allison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's why I think this is a great collaboration and a great partnership, Allison, because you're coming from such different perspectives. When you talk to somebody, Allison, that is on the brink of retiring, and they have that anxiety of, I don't have enough. Like, how do you workshop through that kind of situation?
I think part of it is knowing what's to come. So, a lot of people think about retirement, and that first year is very sweet. It's, right. You don't have to wake up at a certain time.
My wife has just gone through that first year, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, and you live out all those plans that you've been brewing in your head for the last 10 years as you've seen out whatever your career was. And then often after that first year, sometimes 2 years, you kind of hit a point where you go down. And it's good to know that happens. And it's a cycle, and planning for that in advance, because it can be the most exciting, beautiful time of life. And a lot of people experience that. But knowing that, you can go through a period of depression, and you can, and really looking at kind of all of your options. How do you combat that? How do you plan ahead for that, and look at some wonderful ways that you want to give back maybe to society?
Yeah, and Jacqueline, some people might have big dreams, but they don't have the big bank account, right?
Exactly.
For those dreams.
Exactly. Who thought that they needed $1 million per year to suffice? Maybe that's not what they need, but that's a question to ask. How can I get there? And so while I help them create a vision board, while I help them understand what it is to be not just an entrepreneur, but maybe a mentor, perhaps.
Is it free registration? Just before I run out of time, how do people register? Yep. Is there a cost involved?
Yep.
So there's registration on Life Matters website, life-matters.ca/event.
Okay.
It's also on Eventbrite and on a meetup. So we've tried to, and we've put it across most of the seniors' Facebook accounts as well.
Well, thank you both. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
November 12th, by the way, it is called Your Next and Best Chapter, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the New Edinburgh Fieldhouse. We'll be back. Talk a little Sens hockey right after this.
Right on.
This episode of Daytime Ottawa is brought to you in part by Trio Financial Planning, helping individuals and families live today and build for tomorrow. Branton Renovation is pleased to support this episode of Daytime Ottawa. Branton Renovations, Ottawa's award-winning renovations team.
We fought our way through Italy and then headed for Amsterdam, sweeping for Germans along the way. Our worst fear was to catch a bullet in these last hours of the war.
I was 15 when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands. More than 100,000 Dutch Jews never came home. Our men were put into forced labor. By 1945, we were starving. The food drops gave us hope. And then the Canadians came.
Before Amsterdam, I couldn't have explained why we were there, all those years away from home, but the Dutch showed us why it mattered.
Papa wanted me to bring some soldiers home to thank them personally. And that's when I first saw Wilf. And I invited him over that afternoon.
Marguerite Blaise married Lieutenant Wilf Gildersleeve. They moved to Vancouver, where they raised 8 children. Today, the Dutch still remember the Canadians who liberated them.
This episode of Daytime Ottawa is brought to you in part by Dustin Design and Drafting, your first step toward building your dream project with a team approach. Daytime Daytime Ottawa is proudly supported by Mary's Must Read Book Club. Follow Mary on social media at Mary K. Taggart for her latest book club picks.
Welcome back to the show. Yeah, I know it's been an up and down season so far, and if you look at the road record and the home record, we're going to break this all down. It's, again, another edition of Sens Talk with Simmer, host of Coming In Hot with Wally, York, and Simpson. Welcome back, Sean. Great to have you here.
Yeah, always fun to talk a little hockey.
Shall we just start off in talking about Linus Ullmark and what is going on there?
Well,
I mean,
it's a big story.
Yeah.
And, you know, you had the preseason, he didn't play a lot. Then you're kind of thinking, okay, he's going to get into the season and he's going to start to gel. I don't know. You're 6-6. Forsberg's going to start tonight against the New York Islanders.
Are you surprised with that decision?
No. And
okay.
I think I'm really at the point, just based on the record, if Forsberg wins, and he's played great in his last 3 starts, why not just stick with him?
I think you have to at this point,
and this
right?
theory of, you know, Ullmark finding his game be odd is that they're going to go into Boston on Saturday. Can you imagine if we see Forsberg and Korpisalo and not Ullmark? So, and I'm not trying to say that. There. You know, when I watch him play, like technically, and I was a goaltender, something just doesn't seem right with him.
Yeah,
like,
so
doesn't seem
like
comfortable.
when you watch him, you know,
well, he plays a really unique style where he's in the butterfly quite a bit, and it takes away the short side. What I haven't seen is the ability to recover laterally. Like, he just doesn't look as comfortable, as fluid, and even from when we saw him in the regular season, or preseason, a couple of games. So, yeah, it just doesn't seem right. And like I said, it's a real difficult thing, and I don't think it's something we were talking about. But the other part, Forsberg, the last 3 games, 2 of them being shutouts, he doesn't even get the next start. So I thought you had to go to Forsberg tonight. And to be honest with you, if he plays as well as he did in the last 3 games, I'd kind of be like, well, why don't we just start him in Boston, which would then the controversy will start.
Right, yeah, which we love. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
That's part of being a fan and talking about any sport. Let's talk about the fact that Artem Zub is back, and everyone was wondering, is Hamonic out or is Jacob Bernard-Docker is out? Now we know that answer, and how do you feel about it?
Well, I'm not a fan of it, but at the end of the day, here's the thing, okay? Hamonic, and I thought as a coach with a veteran guy, but Clevin and JBD have played so well together, and I just thought, what kind of a message are you sending? But this has happened historically, but the key is you're finally going to have the big 4, and it really is about Sanderson and Zub. It's about Shabbat and Jensen. That's what it's all about, really, for a game. So it's not the end of the world, but to me, it's just a little bit surprising. But like I said,
is it because of his play as of late? Like, I know he had one, good game. He had those 2 blocks at the end of the game, but
well, the numbers aren't that great.
No,
and really Sanderson's play really came down. And then when he's winning with Clevin so far this year, it has not been very good. So not a lot of it makes sense, other than I've seen this so many times before. You have a veteran player, and the coaches feel like they want to keep him in. He's a good leader. He does some good things. But like I said, we'll see what ends up happening. But the real nice part is, let's see if that top 4 can stay healthy. Because I think this is maybe the best top 4 they've had in at least 15 years.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it hasn't been.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that,
You had Carlson and Mathot, and you had some other things, but there was nothing after it. Finally, it looks like the slotting. You got the 3 right-hand shots, the 3 left shots. It looks real good on paper.
Bit of a roller coaster so far. Like, you get excited, and then you get down, then you get excited again. And then the last game, you got Buffalo, and, one of the worst teams in the league, and 5-1 against one of the worst teams in the league. What happened in that Buffalo game?
I know you're an NFL guy, and that's the way we treat the games in the NHL, right? It's your high, your low, but I didn't expect that. With the way they were playing, and with the schedule that they've had, too, and the spacing, I just expected so much more, and they came out flat. But at the same time, what was really the game at the end of the day was UPL, the goaltender for Buffalo, was better than Ullmark. The Sens weren't terrible, but you look at a 5-1 score, and you think, man, what ended up happening? And you're also pointing to, and I'm a bit nervous, they're 1-5 on the road, 5-1 at home. Got to start winning some road games. And with that top 4 and with some better goaltending, I think they'll be more than capable. But that was a mismatch. And even up front, I thought the Buffalo forwards were some big guys like Tage Thompson, who's 6'6".
Yeah, he's a big lad.
Norris and Stützle and those guys had a really tough time with him. So I think it was not a great matchup, but no excuse to be that flat.
Speaking of Stützle, we're looking at it right here. There's a clean hit against him, and then, Kachuk coming to the rescue. rescue again for Timmy Stutzla and dropping the gloves. What do you think of, I find when he fights somebody, there hasn't been a pick-me-up. Right, with the rest of the team, like, does this have to stop at some point?
Well, I don't know if it has to stop, but I think it is surprising, and he's realistically the only guy on the team. What's also interesting is that he and Greenway are good friends, and they actually played together at the U.S. Development.
Really?
Yeah. So that's an awkward one, but that's just in his DNA. That's what his family's about.
Right.
That's what his dad was about. That's what his brother is about. So I don't know if it has to stop, but it's funny, and I saw on social media they put out the record. The record when he's fought is actually terrible. I think they're like 8-24, or I can't remember what it was, but you're right. A lot of times when you see a fight like that, but he's just such a good teammate.
Is that because maybe most of these fights coming when the game is already out of hand or something?
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
But like you said, normally you get a bounce. Now there have been some games like that. I can remember the game in New York last year when he fought Trouba, and then he ended up scoring the winning goal. It was unbelievable. And I just think now when we see this, is that I just don't think the fighting has as much effect on the hockey game. You know what I mean? Like it used to. Like every time there's a clean hit or a heavy hit now, you end up seeing a fight, and it's just kind of like, okay, kind of cancels it out. I don't see any momentum going one way or another. But like I said, I don't think he's ever going to change.
What do you make of this home and away record? 1-5 away, 5-1 at home. Is it just a comfort thing?
It's matchups. Certainly when you're on the road and you don't have the last change. And from a goaltending perspective, Ullmark has not been great. But when you take out a Zub and you put a Hamonic in there, the matchups you're getting on the road, the players you're facing, you're going to be facing the best players. So I think that's been part of it too. There's been some road games though in Vegas, and I can't remember the other one, where they actually played well and you thought they should get some points. So I'm not pushing the panic button yet, but you certainly don't want to be a homer team. The expectations try to make the playoffs. Obviously, if 500 is not going to do it, and the last thing you want to be is continuing to lose on the road. That's not a sign of good team.
Encouraged though that they're still within striking distance. I mean, no one's running away with it yet, right?
Absolutely. And you look around the National Hockey League, and I think this part of it is that they don't take the preseason that serious. There's a lot of teams that are on the up and down, and the other nice part within the division itself, doesn't look like anyone's going to run away with it. I think you have to be fortunate looking at that. And the other thing, I think psychologically, you just don't want to fall below 500. You're playing an Islanders team
with the
tonight.
starts we've had in recent years.
Exactly.
We'll continue this conversation with Sean Simpson in just a moment. We'll be back right after this. Don't go anywhere.
This episode of Daytime Ottawa is brought to you in part by Trio Financial Planning, helping individuals and families live today and build for tomorrow. Branton Renovation is pleased to support this episode of Daytime Ottawa. Branton Renovations, Ottawa's award-winning renovations team.
Join Valerie Pringle as she interviews some of the country's most prominent insiders on Canada Files, this season on Rogers TV.
With clubs, leagues, and courts in every province and territory across Canada, squash is the sport for wall-to-wall fun, fitness, and friendship. From coast to coast to coast. Learn to play and you'll want to do it every day. Squash. Play inside the box.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
This episode of Daytime Ottawa is brought to you in part by Dustin Design and Drafting, your first step toward building your dream project with a team approach. Daytime Ottawa is proudly supported by Mary's Must Read Book Club. Follow Mary on social media at Mary K. Taggart for her latest book club picks.
Hey, welcome back to the show. By the way, stay tuned to the end of the show because the Ottawa 67s have 4 home games coming up. I'll give you all the details on that, of course, because you can watch all of those Ottawa 67 games right here on Rogers TV. I believe one of them's at the Canadian Tire Centre as well. But we are back talking Sens with Simmer, host of Coming In Hot with Wally York and Simpson. And Sean, I just want to go back quickly to last change because some viewers that perhaps haven't been watching hockey for a long time and maybe they don't understand what that means and what the strategy is. And let's just go back to that for a moment.
Well, basically it means that the visiting team has to put their players out first, and then the home coach has the opportunity to get matchups. And it's a real key when you get into situations. You put out your fourth line, all of a sudden you're going to do that in the offensive zone, defensive zone. They're going to put out their best player. So it just leads them to tough matchups. And Ottawa's been just okay on the face-off. So it's about puck possession and, quite simply that, you're going to see some of your players lower in the lineup face some of the better players. We're at home, obviously.
You're doing the opposite,
well, exactly.
right?
Coach Green's going to get the matchups that he wants.
I want to go, going into that Sabres game, there was a lot of people that were scratching their head with, Gaudette was playing so well, and all of a sudden he's playing on your fourth line, and, I know Ridley Gregg's got to get some playing time as well, but were you surprised with what happened there in the lineup?
Not surprised, but Gaudette has been comfortable, and that line actually played about 16 minutes, which is a lot for a fourth line. He's finding some real chemistry, and one of the things I will say has been nice, when Pinto got injured, they still didn't break up that line, and you can call it a fourth line, you can call it a third line, but he's feeling it right now, and he's developed some really nice chemistry with Cousins and McEwen. So I don't really look at them necessarily as a fourth line. Now, would you look to slide him up on the right wing for the goal scoring? I think it's a possibility at some point, because he does have some natural touch. He was a player coming out of Northeastern that had 60 points and won the Hobey Baker. So he's had the offensive pedigree. He's had to find a way into the National Hockey League, which I didn't think he was going to be capable of. So it's a great story at 28 years old where maybe it feels like he's finally arrived. And he also played for Coach Green in Vancouver.
Yeah, that's right.
And so there's a comfort there. I think a big part of why he signed, his best NHL season, had 33 points in 59 games under Green. So there was familiarity there. And when they made the signing, they gave him a huge guarantee in the American League. And I kind of looked at it and thought, well, okay, this guy might be, there might be an inside track. And he had 4 goals in the preseason as well.
Yeah, he's been a fun guy to watch. There's no doubt about it.
He's got a great shot. Doesn't need many chances. And you can just see how natural he is with it. Almost every one of them high over the glove.
Let's talk injuries. Pinto, you mentioned, was before the show back skating, right? Perron was back skating as well?
Yeah, a good sign. Basically on the ice today was the whole team, which you don't see very often in the National Hockey League. Perron was away for personal reasons, and let's hope his family is doing okay. But he's been off for quite some time, so I don't know how long it'll be. And
so with that, for him not being an injury, I guess, is that just getting back in hockey shape kind of idea?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
And the other interesting part, Derek, when you look at it, when Pinto comes back, the obvious is he'll slide back into that third line spot. When Perron comes, I'm really interested to see who they take out. The decision of what do you do with a Ridley Gregg? Amadio hasn't put up a lot of points. You finally look, and I know everyone's complaining about JBD and Hamonic, but up front, if healthy, finally there's a bit of competition, which I don't think is a bad thing, but I think that'll be a pretty tough decision as to how they end up handling that. Now, he can play the left side as well, but, overall, the forward group, there's been a lot of cohesion. I think they're developing some pretty good chemistry, but this gives you an opportunity if somebody's not playing well, hey, next man up.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look ahead because we've got, the Islanders tonight, and then you've got Boston, I believe, and the Leafs. Yeah. Any thoughts on these upcoming games?
Well, when I look at the schedule going ahead, and I'll just go for this week to next week, you mentioned those ones. You go to the Leafs, then you've got the Flyers, then you got Carolina. Right now, if you're to do a power ranking, the Toronto Maple Leafs and Carolina Hurricanes are better than Ottawa. But when I look at the Islanders, I look at Boston, Philly. If I'm a team, that's what I'm targeting. I got to get points. I got to get wins out of that. The Islanders are coming in tonight. No Barzell. They've got some injuries on the back end. They don't score much. They certainly work very hard. But that's kind of how I would power rank the next week here is that, hey, I'd like to see us, and we want to stay above 500. Like I said, I think it's really important. So those 3 games there, and take your chances with they always seem to play well against Toronto.
I was going to say, do you think the Battle of Ontario is almost back? I mean, I don't see it as, what it used to be, but is it getting there?
I don't feel it.
No, not yet?
You know what? And when I worked in Washington, we considered Pittsburgh to be our rival, but Pittsburgh didn't see us as a rivalry because we never beat them. And I think from an Ottawa-Toronto perspective, it's kind of like, okay, first of all, it's not the Battle of Ontario, but there is something that I think for anybody. And when I worked for the Leafs, we kind of felt like we didn't have home advantage because so many players are from that area, and guys just love going into cities like that and playing. playing. So, like I said, I think that's part of it as well. But yeah, I don't think that's going to take. Our biggest rivalry right now for me easily is Montreal.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind about that. I'm just thinking, for fans that have been around a long time, you really miss that, right? Because it was so...
meet in the playoffs again.
It was so much fun.
And probably beat them. That was what made Montreal the rivalry, was that great playoff series and the beatdown that they had. And then all of a sudden, and everything that went on and off the ice with the coaches, I was like, wow, okay, now you got something here. And I remember that year just being so excited that they weren't going to play the Rangers in the playoffs. It was going to be Montreal. I knew that was going to be something special, and it certainly came as advertised.
What do you think of Travis Green so far? You and I have talked about him on a couple of occasions where, we kind of want to see a little more fire out of the guy.
Yeah, I like, though, to be honest with you, he doesn't show a ton of emotion. I thought the last couple of games have been a little bit better. One thing I do like about it is he seems to have a pretty steady hand. And then the other thing I get a sense of with the way they're playing now, which in most games they're playing with a lot more structure, I get a sense it's black and white with him. I think for the players, it's really important to say, there's no playing around here, there's no mind games, there's no gray area. This is what's expected of you, and I think the players understand that.
Yeah.
And I like that I think you like that as a human being.
Yeah, no, for sure. You don't want him losing his mind and throwing sticks on the around. Coming in hot, check it out on YouTube for more in-depth analysis. The boys will be back at 4 o'clock today with another episode of Coming in Hot. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this. Welcome back to the show. I want to mention, because I promised after that wonderful segment with Ingrid and Chef David, the collaboration dinners with guest Mexican chef Mario Mateo. So there's one on November the 14th at Tulip Restaurant, one on November the 15th. That's a Ladies Who Lunch event. November 16th is the Crave Food and Wine Festival. The Mexican Embassy participating in that. November 17th is an Indigenous dinner with some wonderful chefs as well. Tickets on sale now. These are all fantastic experiences. www.embassydinner.ca for ticket information. Ottawa 67's hockey here on Rogers TV. Coming up, as I said, 4 home games. You got Brampton at Ottawa tomorrow, Friday, November 8th. That's a 7 p.m. start. And then they host Kingston on Wednesday the 13th. They host Oshawa on Friday, November 15th. So that's the lineup for the next little while. 67's hockey. You can always watch all the games right here on Rogers TV. RogersTV.com, by the way, for the full schedule to find out. 6 wins, 6 losses, 2 overtime losses, and 1 shootout loss. So a great start so far. Thanks so much for watching this edition of Daytime. We'll see you next time.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Hey everybody, my name is Karen. I'm here with my best friends Shane and Monique. Join us on Rogers TV for Fitness Faction. Every week we're going to take you through a full body workout. We've got strength training, we've got cardio, we've got HIIT. Ladies, let's get back into it.
I think we've got 10 more skaters. Let's go.